So a lot of things there's always to chat about, but I wanted to, Jonathan had just, because I inquired about it, Jonathan provided me with some information about what's happening with the old Regal House on Church Street. And gave me a pretty comprehensive review from the City of New Bedford Planning Department. And I believe this is dated October 15th, 2020. And there was a specialist explaining it to the audience what's going to happen there. And there's I guess there was a request for a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals in order to make this happen over there on Church Street, the Regal House on Church Street. Is this it? I mean, is this going to happen? Is this a done deal?
Yeah. So he just gave me a copy of this. So my understanding is that they are moving in there. Child and Family Services, as you probably know, is one of the oldest agencies of its type in the country. It goes back, and the history of this is not too well known in New Bedford, but I think it was, and maybe one of the historians out there can call in and clarify, but I think it was established by Hetty Green's sister, or at least that family, back in the 1840s as an agency to support orphans, and they've been in business ever since in New Bedford. And they are now they've operated a site on Pleasant Street for well over 100 years, right next to the Armory, and they also have a site by where what was that billiards place where the Avenue and the Boulevard intersect. It's been a number of things over the years, but like at the fork right there is the Avenue and the Boulevard diverge. So they're moving over, it sounds like, to the former Regal House Furniture, which I think moved to Fairhaven. So lots of moving pieces here, but that's my understanding.
Yeah. So according to the information that you're looking at and that Jonathan provided, Child and Family Services would provide several services. One half of the building would operate as a mental health counseling center. Programs that operate from 7:30 to 7 p.m. 5 days a week. And then it goes on to explain that the other part of the building would host 24-hour programs. I'm not sure what these are, CBAT, ES, and CCS. These programs operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And so it sounds as though there's going to be some emergency cases brought there, too, people in mental crisis that are going to be housed there as inpatients for periods of time. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, they do. They certainly do some of that, and they're doing a lot of that and have been not too far from there in the North End for, I'd say at least the last 5 or 6 years or so. Yeah, I mean that's my understanding. They do a good job. There are lots of people who need those services, and it's in an area that, I know that your former neighborhood's on the other side of Church Street, right nearby, so you know that area well. But and that western side of Church Street is less residential. There's a couple of neighborhoods not too far away, but I don't.
Well, you got the Whalers Woods right in back of it, and that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, I don't see. So this isn't some fly by night company that's coming in to do this for profit. It's an extreme, among the oldest standing institutions in the city of New Bedford, moving to a place that's more accessible for people. So I don't really see an issue there. They're selling the Pleasant Street property, which will likely go to a developer, probably for market rate housing. So that'll go back on the tax rolls, and I think that property is actually more valuable than the one on Church Street. So,
well, the property on Church Street's been assessed at $839,700. That's quite an assessment. That is prime real estate on Church Street, and it's coming off of the tax rolls in order to make this happen.
Yeah, the one on Pleasant Street's actually assessed higher than that. Yeah, John just slipped me a note that says that one's assessed at almost $1.3 million. So, look, there are nonprofits that do really good work in the city and meet needs of families, whether it's families who have issues with mental illness or substance abuse or many other things. And the Child and Family Services has been doing it for as long as anybody, I think, in the United States. So it's right here in New Bedford. So it's not. I'm glad that they are going to be able to perform in a place that's a little bit harder to develop. I mean, what we've seen over the last few years, Barry, is a real collapse of big retail in the United States. I mean, just think about all the bankruptcies in the last year of like primetime retailers like Brooks Brothers and was it Nordstrom's? I mean, there are a bunch of them that have gone belly up because Amazon has totally changed the retail market in America, and so there are lots of places that aren't competing, and so Regal House is still open. It's moved to Fairhaven, but it's not. I don't know that we're likely to get another retail in there real soon. So, I think it's as good a site as any.
With the train coming down, the train's going to be coming right in back of there. There's no. I mean, you would talk to one point about more housing units perhaps going up in that area because the train's going to be there.
Not really in that area because there's no. There's no station right there. I mean, there's the North End station will be on Church Street south of Tarkin Hill Road. So it's not. It's probably a mile away or so.
I just don't. I don't understand why we would want to take property. We're constantly talking about the inability to generate new revenue, and we're going to take property off of the tax rolls. In my opinion,
there's no we here. The city's not doing it, right? So the zoning board of appeals is reviewing an application to give them, as I understand it, some parking relief. I haven't read the details. I just had it passed in front of me just before.
Sure. So this is not a done deal as yet? It's not. It's still the permit is still pending?
I don't know. You're asking me about a particular. Well, I can certainly get back to you about it, but you're catching me about an issue that has not come in my direction, except so far as that I'm aware that Child and Family Services would like to do business at that site.
Right. So,
which frankly they can do. As a nonprofit, they can buy that. They can buy some other property in the city. They occupy properties in the city already, and they have been doing that for almost 200 years now.
But we didn't have to approve a special zone change. We didn't have to approve that.
There's no we here. So
the city of New Bedford, Mayor. Come on. I mean, the city of New Bedford, the zoning board of appeals, and was there a public hearing on this thing back on October 15th, 2020, when this meeting was held?
I don't know. I have a.
Well, you ought to know. It's your job to know.
Literally was handed. Handed when I went on the air with you, Barry. If you want to quiz me about it, quiz me next week about it. I'll have all the answers for you. I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, I probably will, because I think that the listeners want to know whether they were given any opportunity to be heard on this. And we're constantly, me and other people are constantly talking about nonprofits in the city and how there are so many, and how we need to get properties on the tax roll, and then to see a prime piece of real estate at over $800,000.
We actually don't have too much real estate occupied by nonprofits. Right. The biggest one is South Coast Health, which occupies the space at St. Luke's Hospital. They own land in the North End. But the cities that have lots of nonprofits are the ones that have lots of colleges and lots of major hospitals and other research centers, and that's where the issue around payments in lieu of taxes from nonprofits is a very heated one. Providence is an example. Boston's an example. Washington D.C. is another one. So we don't have that that issue is not as big of a deal here as it is in many other cities around the United States. In fact, if not most.
All right. Well, it's a big deal when we need tax revenue coming in to keep the property taxes down.
We do, but I don't. I'm not telling them they have to buy this property. They have a right to do that, Barry.
Well, we have a right to deny the zoning change. So that's all I'm saying. But
right, and that is an independent board of city government, and I don't know because again I just was handed this thing. You want to engage me in this discussion on some matter that I just don't have the details on, and frankly you probably would not expect me to have the details at the tip of my tongue on something like this. So if you want to talk about it, we can.
All right, well, let's plan to talk about it next week. But quite frankly, I would have expected you to be a little bit more knowledgeable about it. I mean, this is a major a major thing. But if I get it, you just got the paperwork this morning, so we can talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
All right. Well,